We're all set? Okay. Okay, 7:03, I'd like to call the meeting together for the Planning and Zoning Commission of the Village of Bartlett, counties of Cook, DuPage, and Kane. Please call the roll.
Bob Picaro. Charlie DeVoe.
Here.
Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Julie Kapitakakis. Here. George Koziel.
George.
John Miasso.
Here.
Shel Sarwaz. John Batterman.
Here.
Mike Weirden.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the November 2nd, 2023 meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by George. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe.
Abstain.
Mark Hopkins.
Abstain.
Julie Kapitakakis. George Koziel.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
John Batterman.
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Public forum, is there anybody in the audience that has anything to address to us that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, first item on the agenda, case number 2311, Allen Horticultural LLC, amendment to the the planned unit development in Blue Heron Business Park, site plan.
Allen Horticulture submitted a concept plan that was reviewed by the Committee of the Whole back in September. Now we're reviewing a full development application for this project. The site for the proposed contractor's yard with outdoor storage development is 5.93 acres at the northeast corner of West Bartlett Road and Miles Parkway in Blue Heron Business Park. Blue Heron Business Park was annexed in 2003. As part of the development agreement, the property was divided into 4 development areas. Each development area has its own set of permitted uses. The properties along West Bartlett Road are designated for commercial use only. The applicant is now requesting an amendment to the planned unit development. The subject property is currently designated as Development Area 4, commercial use. The amendment to the PUD would change the scope of the Development Area 1, an industrial development area, so that it extends all the way south to West Bartlett Road. The site here on the south side is the employee parking, the proposed facility with repair and office space, repairs for their fleet. We have this access point on Miles Parkway, the southern access point for the employee parking, and the northern access point is for the landscaping trucks and trailers. Additionally, to the north side, there are a number of bins for landscaping material and salt storage in the winter, as well as equipment storage in the summer. For the elevations, the petitioner decided to include a number of faux windows along this precast for all sides of each elevation, as well as 5 drive-in doors. Additionally, on two of the elevation sides, you have this canopy for the south elevation, which would be facing West Bartlett Road. For the landscaping plan, there is a berm that exists here, and additional plantings would be placed. There's a bioswale here as well, and there is going to be native plantings along West Bartlett Road and the east side for the IDNR property. Staff recommends approval subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report, as well as the addition of one condition relating to lighting, and that would be the light poles in the employee parking lot shall match those in the West Bartlett corridor plan, and those two would be at the very south side along West Bartlett Road. The petitioner has already agreed to this additional condition as well.
kind of plantings were you talking about?
The plantings along West Bartlett Road, that would be a number of evergreen trees which already exist, as well as deciduous shrubs, evergreen shrubs, shade trees, and then the prairie buffer seating would be along the east side of the property. The petitioner is also present if you have any questions.
I do, if we're ready. Mike, you good? Just real quick, I didn't see anything about the gas storage right in the middle there. Is there,
Yes, my bad. That is gas storage to the south portion of the lot. There are 4 tanks and pumps as well for their fleet.
underground? Or
Above ground
above
tanks.
ground? Okay. Pause. I have another question. So I think we're dealing with the commercial pass-through here that we had on West Bartlett Road. I think that's why we're trying to amend the PUD here, PUD. So I do appreciate that the building looks commercial in front. We've got the awning, which looks more commercial than industrial, so that is very nice. I do have three questions about the intent of the south-facing part of the building, just because it's going to be facing part of our residence across the street. So I think Andrew already talked about the parking intent was for employees to leave their cars, probably to get into the fleet and take away salt trucks and snow removal equipment and your horticulture business, right? So they're going to get into the fleet of vehicles and leave their cars for the day. Are there other intents for that parking structure, like clients or other people that are going to visit your area? Yeah. I'll ask all 3 of my questions and you can just address them real quick. The second part is the pass-through garage. I'm curious if that's going to stay open at all. I assume it's there so that it's easier for your fleet to get through and get their repairs so that they can exit faster. But just because it's facing our residents, I'm curious if that's going to remain open, if there's going to be noise pollution. And then the third question I had was the use for the mezzanine. Is that for people to come into and do business, or is it for paying bills, or is there going to be like a full-time staff, like a receptionist there, that kind of thing?
I need to swear you in real quick. Please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly affirm the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? Yes. Okay, then state your name and address before you speak.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm Dean Kelly, home address 612 South 5th Street, St. Charles, Illinois, and I'm representing Heron Horticulture. Dan Huber owns that company, and he'll be the occupant of the building, or the building. He can answer those questions operationally. And then we have Chuck Smith, who's with the VIII that designed, the architecture. So we'll answer those accordingly. I think most of those are for Dan as far as the operations. I'll let Dan share.
My name's Dean Huber. I live at 1025 Lathrop in River Forest. So your first question about the parking lot, the parking lot's use will be for our employees only.
Okay.
Very seldomly we have actual clients coming through the building.
Okay.
With our business being commercial in nature, it's limited to day-to-day clients coming in the building. As far as the overhead door goes that faces south, primarily it'll stay closed.
Okay.
The purpose of it is to be able to have a pass-through in the event we need to have a drive-through, but it's functional
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a comment. I walked out there, and on northeast of there, where you're going to build, I believe there's an eagle's nest. Does the Illinois Department of whatever have any discussion about that, or?
IDNR has completed their survey of the property, and they did not think that there would be any impact, that there would be
Well,
any effects.
it's actually kind of far away, but I was, okay.
Yeah, but they do have to do a land use report, we do get that in, so.
It is unoccupied? Okay, thank you.
Did have one years ago, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Wait until it left.
Do we have the evidence, the mailings, the newspaper, and the sign? Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Okay. I had a question, the faux windows. Now, this is, I mean, they look real authentic, or?
Excuse me, I've used this in the past in situations like this, is that since it is a methodology of creating kind of like an architecture facade, there's real windows in there that basically give access to the office spaces on the first floor as well as the mezzanine. But then the rest of it obviously is the repair garage. We did a Hobby Lobby up in Algonquin a few years ago, and there's a requirement of Algonquin, they have like an architecture facade facing Main Street. But when the building was doing a full window, so we actually articulate the mullions and paint those out to match the color of the building. And then we actually pick a shade of gray that represents the actual project as close as possible to the color that the window would be during daylight. So when you actually drive by the building, it looks like a facade of windows.
I think that's a neat idea, because it gives a curb appeal and takes away just some big blah that has no taste to it. And
It works really well, and obviously, as you drive by a building, unless the lights are on at night, you really don't see a gray, flame. So again, like I said, is that we pick a color to paint the full windows very close to what the gray would be with the vision glass.
I have questions.
What?
Question for you. Rooftop equipment on the building?
There's a rooftop unit that would, that you were reading. There's a rooftop unit that
Have been requiring here is full screening in elevation. So how far away from the building and at what point do those start to come into view?
The sideline study basically, in the past, has always been from the sidewalk on the opposite side of the street. From the sideline is about 5 feet off the sidewalk, based on elevation. My opinion, based on our study, and those sidelines, you won't see the unit. However, if you're further back, like approaching from West Bartlett Road, there's an opportunity to be able to see it as soon as you get closer to the building.
So that's just serving mezzanine, or are you talking, what are you talking about for size on it?
I'm sorry?
What size is the RTU?
At the top one, I can't remember, but it's doing 4,000 square foot all downstairs, and then we're taking on, I think it's 700 units. So its height off the roof deck is 14 plus about 5.5 feet, so we're about 7 feet. But the roof pitches down to the downstairs to the roof drain. So the roof pitches work, because I don't, so we push the roof back
saw your sightline study and your plan for that, because that's a concern of this commission typically.
Section 911-3 of the building code requires that all rooftop mechanical screens be, or rooftop mechanical units be screened on all sides. So that is a building code requirement that is being enforced by our building division manager.
We'll catch that at construction costs.
Correct.
That's fine. That covers one question. We don't need any commitments there. You're already committed. Could you tell us about the construction or what type of fence that is? You know, how much, is that 100% screening? Is it, what's the construction of it around the yard? Yeah.
That's what's allowed per their administrative site plan for all the lots along that east property line in Development Area 1.
Anything else?
What about, this is probably another operations question, hours of operation, just because the Miles Parkway, that little jaunt there over to Kenyon is where a lot of our young folks go to high school early in the morning at about 7:30. So what, we're gonna have salt trucks or big trucks out there around that time? Anything that might block Miles? They do use that little pass-through so that they can avoid 25 and West Bartlett Road pretty often. So it'll be 16-year-olds coming down your street, yeah. Maybe not going away from school, but in the morning it gets busy. Okay.
That makes sense. Anyone else?
Thank you.
At this point, we'll open it up to the public. It's a public hearing. Any further comments or motions? Go ahead.
Case number 23-11, Allen Horticulture. Request approve the request to amend the planned unit development for Blue Heron Business Park and approve the site plan for Allen Horticulture, including the conditions and finding of fact with the additional condition for the light standards along West Bartlett Road to match those
Very well. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. At this point, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Yep, okay, go ahead.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe.
Yes.
Mark Hopkins. Julie Kapudakis. George Koziel.
Yes.
John Miaso. John Batterman.
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Okay, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the village board. Do you anticipate it might be on the agenda by the end of the month?
It is going back to Village Board Committee on the 20th, and then we'll go to Village Board for a final vote the first meeting in March.
Okay, so it should be pretty fast. Good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next item on the agenda, case number 2402, parking requirements for senior housing. Text amendment.
So the village has been updating our zoning ordinance one chapter at a time over the past several years which is not the ideal way to do it, admittedly. Due to that, we have definitions that don't correspond to words in or categories in our parking table. We are starting to see more and more applications for senior developments, and our codes are not adequate. So we are requesting a text amendment to modify our parking requirements we would be keeping the nursing and personal care facilities. We would be adding that definition. We will be adding a standard for that, as well as a standard for assisted and supported living residences for senior housing and independent living residents. We had CMAP do a study a few years ago, a survey of a lot of towns. These were the standards that most towns are adopting. And we've looked at developments within the village, and they are in line with these requirements. Some of them provided more, but they looked at what our requirements were and said it was not enough parking. And I would hate to be in a situation where someone comes in and meets code, and we know that the project won't work. So I'd like to bring this up so that we can amend the zoning ordinance and have adequate parking requirements. It's very rare for me to say that I want more parking.
Yeah. Are you saying we're aging now?
I am saying that if you look at our census, we are.
Yes.
So we would like people to be able to stay in place.
Good idea.
So, and then this was a public hearing. We only had to publish in the paper.
Okay, so mark that Exhibit A. And it doesn't look like we have anybody in the audience. So this is very non-controversial, very conforming with other towns around us.
Right, it's conforming with other towns and with developments that we have. We don't want to make regulations that then suddenly, like Victory Center or Clear Oaks, wouldn't want to meet it. We're not trying to create nonconformity, so we want to make sure it works.
And so it will work with everybody that already exists.
Correct.
Because it's always horrifying when all of a sudden a windstorm comes through and blows something apart, then they have to come to a hearing just to have what they had. Okay, so this is kind of cut and dried, right? Nobody has a problem with it? Any motions to approve? I guess I should have opened the public hearing. Okay, so now you're making the motion during the public hearing. Now there's a motion on the floor. We shall close the public hearing. Any seconds?
Second.
Seconded by George. Moved by John, seconded by George. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mark Hopkins? Julie Kapudakis? George Koziel?
Yes.
John Miasso? John Batterman?
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe?
Yes.
Mike Weirden?
Yes. Very good. So this will be in place pretty fast, right?
I think this we're going to have go straight to board. So we do have an application that this could potentially affect, so we wanted to make sure we had this on the books.
That makes sense. New business, old business. Anything coming up?
I'm not sure if we'll have a meeting next month or not. We have a tech staff next Thursday that we'll see how staff feels about a certain project, but I'm anticipating we would have one in April. Thanks for those that came out to Aldi's grand opening this morning.
Wasn't that exciting?
Building. It was great to see.
Yes. And we had decent weather. I mean, typically this time of February is not conducive to being outside.
Mother Nature was celebrating with us.
Yes.
Yes. I think Chris looks surprised to see so many of us out there. Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by George? Second. Seconded by Charlie? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.